Welcome to Theorycraft, a live podcast where game developers and their players engage in conversation. It's been another 2 weeks. The Steam Autumn Sale is upon us, which lets us know that the seasons are marching onwards. As usual, we will start by just kind of catching up with where everybody's at. I'm actually going to lead off this time with just a very exciting piece of news. My house has been host to 3 cats today, not just 2. My friend had to bring hers over to avoid a fire inspection, and so her huge, fluffy boy, Nini, has been making himself at home here all day. And it's just really interesting always to watch animals encounter each other for the first time. It feels kind of like, finding out a side of your significant other you didn't know existed or something. Like you kind of get to see what they're like in these new dimensions. And basically, my cats are just losing the territory war because both of them together are probably exactly the size of this beast. And I think in the animal kingdom, if you're big, you just win. They're hanging in, but it has been a day full of sounds I don't hear them make all the time. And I kind of feel bad for the big guy. He's just this gentle giant. And my 2 girls are harassing the hell out of him. It's just what it is. But, things take time.
The worst assholes.
Yeah. Trust takes time. Relationships take time. But it's like, here I am, the clumsy human, like trying to mediate this as if I can have any effect. And one of them will just be like, making these noises. And I'll just like stick my hand in like, hey, come on, go easy on him. As if fucking like my cats know what that means. But it's been good. In my dream, they all get along. All my favorite cats, just like my favorite people. So, but yeah, super hype news. Not a lot other than that. Maybe we can circle back to me when we talk about games. But Chris, how you been, my man? How are things down at the Noto?
Yeah, good. I mean, we just hung up our sign yesterday, so that's exciting. And just doing the finishing touches like on furniture with all the supply chain issues. We still don't have our conference room table in there yet. But yeah, things are trucking along. Just basically right now, just doing interviews back to back and meeting new people for candidates. And so that's exciting. Today I had like back to back like 6 in a row. So it was
interviews.
Interviews. I was worried that my voice was gonna go out. But yeah, good. I'm drinking one of those what they call hard hard kombuchas. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say that Liquid Death. The
we have Liquid Death.
Marketed. Yeah.
Yeah, we have Liquid Death in the office. Tuan sent some over.
This is our first piece of Spawn, by the way. If people aren't familiar with Liquid Death.
Yeah, Liquid Death. It's
canned water.
Yeah. It's funny because my co-founder Doug, his brother was in the office today, and he got one of the Liquid Deaths, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, my favorite water." And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think like this water is the best tasting water I've ever had." I was like, "Really? Okay. I guess it's a thing,
Are we going to see some pictures of the sign? Is that getting shared on like the Noto Twitter or?
Yeah. At some point.
Okay.
Probably maybe next week or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing too. It's just like now I have to like think of like opportunities to tweet things out or whatever. Like, the social media. I don't know. It's a thing you have to think about, right?
You haven't hired some intrepid young person to handle it for you?
Not yet. Not yet. Eventually, right?
When are we getting the nihilist Noto Studios takes where it relates to me and my depression while talking about the
games? Yeah.
I can't wait. That's great, man.
Set up the TikTok account.
Are you back for Thanksgiving, or you haven't had the week off? I guess. Obviously, you're not.
We had a half day today, and so we have tomorrow and Friday off. But I am staying. I think I'm going to stay down here. Usually, what I usually do is I go to NorCal with my family there. But I think I might just stay down here this time because I was just there in October for Halloween, and it's just I don't know. It's a lot to drive up there, whatever, for a dinner,
Gas is pricey.
It's pricey. And also just like, it was really interesting because last year I flew back. What did I fly back for? It was Christmas or something like that. And there was like 4 people on the plane. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then I just flew up for, Halloween, and it was packed, the airplane. I was like, oh, this fucking sucks. Cause I don't know,
Huh.
I still get anxious when it's like a full pack, like group, I don't know about you guys, but I still get anxious about that. But, so I don't know. That's the other reason why I'm not like anxious to fly back is just, the crowds.
Yeah, I hear that. Candace, what have you been up to?
Oh, the same old, same old. I think I'm almost finished with Control on
Oh,
PS5.
shit. Nice.
Incredible, very good game. I got to a point in the narrative where I was like, oh, can this part just be over? And I put the game down, but I've heard that once I get past that, there's not much left. So, but that game is incredible. It plays like butter smooth on the PS5, and it has really advanced, or I don't know, I wouldn't say advanced haptics, but the haptics do really cool things like let you know when monsters are nearby, and the controller is just like incredible. So
Mm-hmm.
I recommend the game on PS5. Even if you've played it on PS4 before, playing it on PS5 is like a completely different experience because of the controller.
And it's got all the ray tracing and everything probably dialed in on the next gen stuff too.
I would assume that
You would assume. How
yeah.
reflecty are the numerous windows in that game?
Oh, I'm not sure that I have ever given a shit. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I
It's okay.
I love a beautiful game, but I love like a beautiful narrative, and I just don't have the eye for that kind of thing. I played on a potato for the longest time. So but yeah, so and I am going to the office sometimes. Like I went to the office today and I worked, which was really exciting.
Lovely.
I worked in a room with other humans for the first time. I think I counted like 620 days or something, 614 days when I went in last week too. Like it's just, it's different, man. I miss my cats. I miss my bidet.
Mm-hmm.
There's some luxuries at home that are not present at the office, but the office is still like the Riot campus is pretty dope, so can't
Yeah.
be mad.
I'm
Yeah, I was thinking
surprised they don't have bidets everywhere, honestly. It seems like Riot should be good for that, but
right.
The buildings here just aren't wired for the good ones. You know, you want an electrical outlet close to the toilet so you can get a seat warmer and they can warm the water and stuff. Otherwise, it's just a cold shot of waking you up, I guess, you know.
I gotcha.
No,
Yeah.
nobody wants that. Cold water in your bum. Yeah.
I feel
Or
like
like nobody wants the water to be cold in the morning and then warm in the evening, you know? Like what is Big Brother doing? They're trying to wake us up in the morning, you know?
mm,
Or like
yeah,
during
like
periods of like congestion, like the men's room after lunch or something, it's like water is super cold, get the fuck out.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm like
At
this.
Bungie, they accomplished that by just piping in the fucking worst playlists known to man. It was all just like 90s butt rock all day, every day in the men's room. And at Bungie, as you can imagine, the men's room had a line. And so you were standing there listening to like fucking Candlebox for like 20 minutes just to take a leak. And it was like, anyways, we could probably talk about bathrooms for a while. I feel like this podcast would be good for it. Like, I bet Chris has bidet opinions for sure.
Bidet is like something I haven't pulled a trigger with, just because, like Candace said, I don't have the electrical in my bathroom. So
Listen, when the pandemic first hit, I bought
Right.
one because there was no toilet paper, right? But I did find this thing, and I didn't have the electrical socket. I wasn't savvy to the fact that you could even buy ones that were warmed. Like I'd been to Korea and I'd been to Japan where everybody has a seat warmer and a bidet. Like every business you go to. So I knew that there were luxury that existed, but I thought that Americans just weren't savvy to it yet. So I bought one of the cold water ones, and honestly, I would still take a cold water bidet over no bidet. Yeah, that's just there's pure luxury there once you can heat the water and once, you can heat the seat. So
so
Pure
did you
luxury.
did you get um did you get the electrical put into your bathroom, or you already had it?
oh,
Or
no, fuck no. So when I moved into these apartments in Los Angeles, I noticed that the bathrooms have like the tub and shower and the toilet and the cabinet and a power source, whereas my home, the toilet was in its own little like secret closet in the bathroom. It's like there's just like a room with a toilet in my last house. And so what we did was we ran a cord, like a cable management thing that like houses the cord, and we
Mhm.
went around the cabinet, and so you can't see it. I mean, you can see it. You can see the cord housing, but it's not like a hazard or anything. So totally worth it.
In my house, it would just be like a big yellow Home Depot extension cord just right on the fucking floor. And Chris would critique it like he like he does all videos of my apartment.
I'm just
Dude,
teasing.
it's life changing. Me and my partner went the whole pandemic on 36 rolls of toilet paper. Like not the whole
That's
pandemic. Sorry,
insane.
from March to like the new year. So the first year of the pandemic, I mean, without buying toilet paper. And then I finally had to buy toilet paper. But that's by then it was in stock. So
It's
I
just
guess what I
smarten up,
meant to
man.
say was it was the whole shortage. Like we didn't have to buy any during the shortage.
That's a really impressive mileage, and I bet it feels great too. And man, the toilet paper hoarding has begun up here again in British Columbia
Really?
recently. I don't
Oh,
know if
shit.
anybody saw, but we had like colossal flooding last week that persists to a degree. But like, yeah, a bunch of former lakes now turned plains, and sort of just like critical BC farmland were completely flooded out and filled up last week, and a ton of highways just kind of like broke down and split off and floated around. And there are a bunch of towns like, as close as like 40 minutes east of here that are relatively cut off from like the rest of Canada at the moment. You'd have to go down through the States and then back up. So we got hit pretty hard. And like as soon as the news started trickling out, first fucking thing, toilet paper's gone. Like that's now just how you know that you should be tuning into the news is you're in Safeway and you're like, toilet paper looks a little low. Did I miss something? It's like the new bellwether for panic. So
Right.
but I'm okay. I think they'll boot everything back up online fairly soon. But yeah, we live in ever-changing times. Trying to think as we segue into the news and games overall. I played like half an hour of this game the other night that think I'm going to keep sticking with, called Sable. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but it's this really strikingly beautiful, kind of minimal cell shade looking sort of puzzler platformer. Gives me kind of some mild Breath of the Wild vibes, but it feels like it probably has a lot of indie heart to it. It's just really charming so far. And I don't know, I'm always just impressed by games that can take such a bold visual styling to their entire game and fucking run with it. It sounds really nice too. Yeah, I don't know. It feels inspiring so far, and I don't get that out of everything I play, so pretty notable for me.
Sorry, what's it called? Sable?
It's called Sable. Yeah, it launched like 2 months ago, and like the world we live in now, like really interesting shit comes up, and then next week there's already something bigger, and these gems get forgotten. But I'm trying to play through.
Sale. 33%.
Yeah, I know what isn't, right? But I'm trying to play through some stuff that I bought a whole whack of games last year on the Christmas sale that I haven't even gotten to, like Yakuza. So maybe I'll do that over the winter. We'll see. So yeah, the Steam autumn sale is afoot. We were kind of chatting about it before the show. I don't know that there's like anything on there I want to snag. Maybe Deathloop. I don't know about you guys, but
yeah, I was just looking through there, and I can't believe how many the Jackbox or whatever, what those things called?
Oh, Jackbox games are great. How did you
there's
get
there's
through
10 of them now.
Yeah, there's
What
a
the
billion
hell?
of them.
I remember when I had what are they called?
Jackbox.
Jackbox Party Pack.
2, right? Yeah,
Mhm.
there you go. Now there's like 10 of them. The hell?
Mhm.
Smart
Yeah.
though.
I brought some over to my sister's place once, and we bought the party pack that had like Drawful, or it had something that we really wanted. But then it also had this game called like, oh God, what was it? It's like Monster Dating app, basically, where there's this. We knew that it was like a dating game show, but we didn't know what that entailed, I guess. And it was just really awkward because the rules are that you're trying to get people to come on a second date with you, and everyone has like a hidden identity or something. So some people, they have hidden objectives. So some people want a second date, some people want to get you to unmatch with them or whatever. Anyways, it was just really awkward because it was my sister, my brother-in-law, my niece, and my nephew and me. And then I learned that my nephew learned some pretty awful shit from the internet. Like what he was only 9 at the time, 10 at the time. And so he was just treating the dating apps like he's seen on the internet, I guess. and he's immediately saying like sends dick pic, and I'm like, dude, I'm your aunt. We're gonna turn this game off immediately. It was
At
not
9,
good
eh?
news. Yeah, at 9,
Boy.
and I the first thing I did is I did not look at him. I looked at my sister. How do you feel about this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Grow
was
up fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that company really
Just-
made
yeah.
hay over the pandemic, huh? I've played more Jackbox in the last year than I think I have my whole life, but... Okay, so the huge news story from last week was obviously the Bobby Kotick revelations. As is tradition with any of these gigantic Blizz stories, it's been, I think, picked to the bone pretty quickly by all of your usual favorite content creators, so I don't know that I have a ton to offer on it, and I know that all of Blizzard is off this week as part of the vacation they were granted before any of this even came out. But I wonder if either of you two has any takes you'd like to share before we kind of keep moving through.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Sorry, go ahead, Candace. You got it.
Okay, I wanted to catch up on a lot of this. This is really difficult for me to listen to, and I choose to expose myself to it in bursts, and I often try not to expose myself to it. But I chose to do this today, and there was this video that got linked to me like a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, that was like Bobby whatever, Activision. I think what was striking about it is that the intro to the video said, "This is our 23rd episode in the Everybody versus Activision series." And I'm like, the 23rd episode in this series?
Oh, he was being serious?
Yes, this was the actual 23rd episode in his series labeled Everybody Hates Activision. And
Lord.
as an ex-employee of Activision Blizzard, that is enormously hard to hear. Because everyone has had different experiences, and hearing some of your heroes aren't heroes anymore, or hearing that there's been just horrible stuff beyond what even you've experienced, it's really difficult.
Yeah, I think really for me, the open question is just what will happen to Bobby? Is he going to step down? Is the board going to boot him out? Or is it just, they're just going to ride it out? I mean, I was sort of thinking that it's just going to get too big that they're just going to have to ask him to go. But starting to think that he's just going to ride it out. You really have to put your head in. You have to really put yourself into Bobby's shoes. And I think for him, with his sort of the way he thinks, it's just like, where's he going to go? And he doesn't seem like the type of person who just retire and just chill out for the rest of his life. He wants to do something. He wants to have some sort of responsibility, some sort of people in those sort of positions. Just what drives them is just sort of being able to win at something and have a lot of challenges and overcome them and all that. And so, Activision, there's no short of challenges there. So it's I don't know. We'll see. But I kind of think he's just going to sit where he's at. Is my thinking now.
I don't know. There's only so long they can keep the press fire spotlight on this and burning before people just kind of start to fatigue. And so I think we're just going to have to wait until the great majority of this gets settled offline and slightly out of the public eye. In terms of legal proceedings and such, but the guy seems to have a million fucking lives. It's pretty incredible. I don't know. At first, I didn't even bother tuning into these revelations, only because I just felt like this must be another predictable chapter in the kind of saga that started this summer. And boy, it was so much more than that. Surprisingly, almost cartoonishly evil. I couldn't believe it. The letter that he penned, that he attributed to Fran Townsend, was the point at which I was like, man, there's just...
I'm sure everybody went to Twitter to apologize to Fran Townsend, right?
Oh, for sure.
No, that didn't happen.
Yeah,
but
at least she knew in her head, well, I didn't fucking write that, so whatever.
It's
yeah, that's funny.
Sometimes there are just and I felt this, not to get too political, but I felt this a little bit. We'll just say during the Trump administration, I feel like we're in an era now where, at least in the West, I'm starting to become used to people really brazenly flaunting their power in such a way that I'm just wasn't used to for a period of time, because it's now just sort of like folks either know that they can get away with it, or they know that there's like an equally dug in contingent that supports them on one or another side. And it's just like to see somebody do such a nakedly scumbag rich person thing, multiple of them, like in recent memory, and even since this thing started really like exploding in June, like, you know, the unequal salary mishap between O'Neill and Ybarra is just like, how the fuck? Like, it's so recent. You just had such a fucking softball and you still couldn't do it. It's like, I don't know. People who are incredibly rich and powerful just operate way differently than me, and it boggles the mind. But and I was saying last week, man, it's a bummer that like the type of personality that could just fuck off to an island and like leave society well enough alone is not the type of personality that gets enough money to do that. Like, when you get to be Bobby Rich, you got there only because you never planned to fuck off and leave things alone. And so we're probably stuck with him in one way or another for a while. It's as you said. Cool. Well, we'll be on to episode, 24 before too long, I'm sure. So in positive news, Riot is fucking killing it lately. I am really impressed with the way they've lined up all of their recent releases with Arcane, this Ruined King RPG that just came out, the fighting game dev blog that they put out. Like, they are really, really filling
Project
up dude, they are really, really filling in the space left by the weakness of even like Activision and just everybody at the moment. Like, their PR is on fucking blast. I'm seriously impressed. It's like there was such a long period of time, right, where it was like Riot has like 3,000 people and all they have is League, and I know they have R&D, but like what's going on over there? And you didn't know which way it was going to tilt. Yeah. And now this like last year or two has just been out of control. So kudos to them. Yeah. Candace,
I think
congrats. I think joined them right in time to help them launch everything. Good job.
It's all Candace. Like, it's
100%.
Yeah. Candace, the finisher of commerce. Yep. Mm-hmm.
No, I feel incredibly fortunate to be there right now. Though now that I'm meeting people that are at Riot, they're like, actually, the right time to join was because they all got like these big payouts, I guess. Because I don't know.
Of course.
But I still think this is a great time to be there. Because of the health of the company, not in any way like shitting on what's going on. Blizzard, everyone knows that Riot has been through similar things in the past, has had their own cultural reckoning, has had their own problems with sexual misbehavior, and so it's not like Riot's on their high horse right now or anything. Like, and I think it's also kind of important to like backing up 2 steps to understand that it's not easy right now to be a Blizzard employee among all of this, which is pretty obvious, and it feels like every time that they get a new message and they recoup and they say, well, here's what we're going to, like, we have this problem, we're going to invest in DNI and we're going to fire the offenders. And like, everyone gets that morale boost. Like, hey, they're listening, things are changing, the cultural reckoning is happening. And that all feels really good to someone who works there. And then like a week later, another article will come out that takes them down 2 notches. And then another week later, another one will come down and it takes them down 2 notches. And so this like yo-yoing, this emotional yo-yoing is just be nice to people on Twitter, be nice to people in general, but like just understand that everybody wants to do better, and it's very disappointing to hear some of this stuff coming from the top before you put someone on blast on the social medias,
The internet's a raw place these days. Adjacent to this topic is like, I can't stop keeping up with New World, even though I've not really been playing anymore. And Jesus Christ, people are just battering these devs. I feel so fucking bad for them. This game is beleaguered at this point with bugs and like new leaks that keep springing, even as they push content and fixes out at this incredible pace. I just feel like I'm glad they have a Thanksgiving break. I'm not sure if y'all are keeping up, but they released a new content patch, a new weapon, a whole bunch of stuff, and a ton of other things broke as recently as today, like a bunch of European realms. All the European realms had to get taken offline because they were like issuing some financial compensation due to one or another thing that's been offline for a bit, just kind of a make good, and they just ended up accidentally gifting a ton of people like hundreds of times the amount of gold they should. So then those people started cleaning out the trading posts and hoovering up all the mats and fucking up the economies. And it's just like, man, I feel for these people. Like, they're working so hard, and it's just like, there are reasons to be critical, but like, I hate reading the forums and such at this point. Like, people can just be so mean. I'm not saying that like you shouldn't get what you need as a customer, but like, whew, I would just stop reading at a certain point. I don't know if I could deal, but
yeah, I mean, working on a live game, you have to develop like really thick skin with the community, or just do not fucking read it. So I met somebody who works on New World recently, and
cool.
It was interesting at the beginning of the conversation. I was congratulating him on, the shipping, and they've got 900,000 concurrent on Steam, which broke records. And generally, a lot of my friends, my network who play the game, had a fun time and stuff. Like, yeah, there are bugs, and there's always going to be bugs in a new MMO. It just like comes with the territory, right? But I was kind of taken aback about how kind of down he was, in terms of like just almost like apologizing about the game.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I was like, and I'm kind of like out of the loop with the game. I'm not like somebody like you who's checking all the feedback and stuff. So I didn't quite understand like the backlash, but I can imagine, right? Like, so
they just, it's one step forward, two steps back constantly. And clearly people feel really strongly about the game because you got those initial numbers and you have this level of, let's just say, passion from everybody who's still playing. But I don't know. I think it needed another year. They're working their butts off to keep it going. But like you have, we've talked about this a bunch. You have a really thick skin and a great kind of like bedside manner with engaging with players via Twitter and stuff like that. I just feel like after a certain point, the torrent of stuff you're seeing on the forums and subreddits and stuff, even if your literal job is to wade through the forums and pass stuff on to the developers, I feel like after a while, it's like taping the dude's eyes open in Clockwork Orange or some shit. Like, you're just going to start feeling like, or like, fucking Sargeras, where you just feel like all of existence just becomes corrupted eventually. You just want to scourge it. It's like, it's just,
who was that
a
one?
lot,
Who was that one CM from WoW who basically quit on the forums? Yeah,
I think it was Theorycraft.
Yeah. I forgot the quote that he had, but it was basically just like, fuck all of you, I'm out.
Yeah, he had the literal Titan avatar, and he quit with what just sounded this like, I don't know, this like apocalyptic warning. It was a way to go out. Yeah.
He was this Joker-fied bar was fucking full.
Totally. Joker-fied. That's what so I don't know. I hope they can like step out of the spotlight and just keep tuning it up for a bit, because a lot of people, I'm sure, would give it a go with everything polished off. And I think they should just open a whole bunch of new servers at some point and be like, look, if you're the type of person that demands integrity and you want to re-roll, here's where we are now, and you can start over again, but you can keep going on your normal realms if you'd like to. I think the Good Bones take is pretty played out by now, but still wishing them all the best. All right, let's get on to the main topic here. It's already more than halfway through. So it's Thanksgiving week here in the U.S., and for whatever you want to say about that storied holiday of ours, it's always nice to step back and practice some gratitude. Think about the things that got you to where you are and the people to whom you owe debts. So, we kind of just wanted to talk a little bit about the stepping stones, I guess, in our own personal careers, things we've been thankful for, and just like Candace, I know you wanted to speak a little bit about collaboration generally and like how much of it happens in dev, how to be a better collaborator, where gratitude comes into play with all that.
I thought if we were going to talk about gratitude, that is a really good segue to, gratitude is a great way to be a good collaborator. Actually appreciating somebody's value and appreciating what they bring to the table is like step one of being a good collaborator. Step one, don't think that your coworkers are dumbasses, Like, you actually have to treat everybody as though they have something valuable to teach you. And for that, you have to be, express and actually be grateful. but expressing gratitude is a big part of that. So I thought it could be a cool segue if we just want to talk about thankful for things about being in the game industry in general, thankful for the people who brought you there or the company that brought you there, or maybe even acknowledge some of the backs that you've had to step on to get there because it hasn't always been, sunshine and roses, like Steric, for example. Like, I'm sorry that we just brought up, if you're listening, like we just brought up something that's probably really painful for you, but it was a really important moment for WoW. And so I want to thank you for standing up for yourself and showing them that, you can still be a big fan of the game and disagree with it. And sometimes people hit their limit, so.
I think he's a fucking hero
Eric,
for
that'd
the
be
record.
a great guest.
Yeah, I wonder what he's up to now. God, that guy was so fucking sharp. Like I think he also had the misfortune of sort of being, I think, like, the way you deal with trolls in a persistent mega online game wasn't really quite as well navigated as it is now. And the early WoW CMs, I think, really had their jobs cut out for them. The discourse is almost worse now, I would say, but like,
could you imagine if
anyway.
Twitter was around when WoW came out? Holy shit! It's been fucking
We wouldn't
madness.
have to. It's there now. Yeah, exactly. Imagine Bus Shock is like tame shit now. Are you kidding me? It's nothing. But so Candace, do you have anything like specific you wanted to go into with like maybe your time at Blizzard or like something on Team 2 or
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll start.
Sure.
I am extremely grateful to Blizzard for giving me the chance to become a game designer. They took a chance on me. I was a QA tester who was just a huge fan of the game, who could spot things about game design, which is, I think they saw that in my game design test, that I was like, well, they use a lot of lights and colors to guide you, and they flank doors so that you know that you should like enter them and stuff like that. And they recognized in me and unlocked a potential in me that I didn't know that I had. And so without that first, what's the word I'm looking for?
Opportunity?
Yeah, opportunity, or just someone lifting me up, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. And so specifically, he's probably not listening, but I really wanted to thank Scott Mercer for that, because he originally hired me and in a day where it wasn't cool to hire women and it was hard. And I remember there being a conversation, not in front of Scott, but there was a conversation in the office about how difficult it will be to have a woman in the office because they're going to have to shower and stop farting, and that there won't be room for a couch. And I thought, well, I'll be better than a fucking couch for sure. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that opportunity, and that the team at the time was so amenable to helping me, even though I was terrified of failure and was very afraid to show weakness back in that day. And probably I had to step on the backs of a couple people to get there. I mean, if you think about it, uh, uh, it it was an environment where many people in QA want to be game designers, game developers, or
Oh yeah.
engineers or whatever. They want to get onto the dev team proper. They don't always want to be in QA for their career. And then very rarely would a design position open up on World of Warcraft, and it would be highly sought after. Dozens of people, if not hundreds of people, were applying for those jobs. And I'm sure that there are a lot of talented designers. In fact, I know there's a lot of talented designers that didn't get hired because I got that opportunity. And I know that because they eventually did get hired, because they knew that sometimes it's not about whether or not you're good enough for a job, but there's, either a more opportunistic hire that comes around, or maybe it's just not the right time, or maybe it wasn't the right role for them, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, and I hope that I I didn't do anything malicious in that way, like I hope that nobody feels betrayed by it, and I hope that I kept things classy and elegant, but I'm also open to hearing, maybe that did hurt some people, and that would make me really sad, and I would want to apologize for that. And then I guess lastly, oh god.
No, I was just gonna make a joke, as is my habit. So go ahead.
Oh, and just lastly, there are a couple of MVPs that I won't list by name, because I really don't usually like name dropping. I did want to give credit to the man who hired me, but like there are a couple of people on the team who really helped me out. they were the people that whenever I was afraid to voice my opinion, I could voice it to them first and then get empowered, or I could get emboldened by them agreeing with my idea, and then I could, bring it up. Or there were the people that challenged me to do better by either just setting a high bar in their work, like there was someone on my team that was very concerned with the visual fidelity of their encounter, and that was back in a day when, like, I think World of Warcraft didn't do as good of a job of selling things visually in the game. They just kind of had a bunch of debuffs and rules and stuff like that. Like Chromagus would change colors, but he wouldn't actually change colors. He would just like have a debuff that says now I'm red, right? And so that feeling like I had to keep up with that was something that really actually elevated my career. And then of course, the people that believed in me to take a leadership role, Amazon Studios for handing me a brand new game and a brand new team. Like there's so many people that have inspired me and have taught me a lot along the way, and I'm just very grateful for them.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's great.
That's great. Especially, I
You're
think
way
to
better
really,
than the couch. I mean, especially the Blizzard couches are like not even Costco quality.
I'm at least warm to sit on, so
you heard it here first. I think that, like, to feel really grateful to you do have to put yourself in the headspace of the person who stuck themselves out for you a little bit. So I really appreciate you talking about what you saw as kind of maybe like the risk that Scott took in some ways. I think, yeah, it's tough to see those until you get some distance between you, because the story's generally just about us. And then you have to remember, like, folks who kind of went out of their way to make something happen for you just because they wanted to be kind or they saw something that you didn't see yet.
yeah, they believed in you maybe in a day when you didn't believe in yourself yet.
I didn't know you started in QA. That's fucking awesome. That's a very classic game dev rise to stardom.
Yeah, I was in QA for 2.5 years. And when I applied for my designer job, I was like, well, if I don't get this job, I'm just going to quit games altogether. Go back to college.
Yeah, it's hard because it's like, I know people have been in QA way longer than 2.5 years trying to get as, into a developer job. And it can be rough, Yeah, so many great devs on WoW came from QA.
You were talking earlier about how it's important to feel appreciated by your coworkers too, and make sure that you're, that gratitude comes from, what did you say? It was like somebody not thinking you're a dum-dum or something like that, or really feeling sort of seen in a way, like on the dev team. Do you have any like anecdotes like that besides hiring, like a collaborative act in which you were like, oh, hey, this person is like really kind of respecting my time or what I have to bring, and that like turbocharged on something you're working on?
I actually just listened to a talk from a newer game designer at Riot, and what they talked about was how hard it is to be new and how intimidating it is. And it put me right back in the seat of Candace 15 years ago whenever I was new. There was a lot that I identified with their story, and I really appreciated it, especially because part of it was reminding me of some of the behaviors that either I do and reinforcing that I do this good thing, or things that I should do more of. For example, if somebody newer speaks up during a meeting, tell them, positively reinforce that, like, hey, that's a good idea, or maybe that didn't work now, but thanks for bringing it up because now we can talk about this other thing, or just sort of like the validation that, like, even if I don't agree with you, I appreciate what you said, and acknowledging that they did say something. Or more importantly, if you're riffing off of their idea, just be sure that you say, yeah, it's like Lilith said, we should do this thing. And like giving credit to somebody for saying something and for speaking up, I think is actually really big. It makes people feel heard, and it makes them feel appreciated. And also it's a good practice for you to appreciate people and understand that maybe some of your ideas come from other people. That's just like a small example, is in meetings, just lifting people up. There, often whenever you become a manager, people will tell you if someone's quiet for too long, call on them and let them speak, and make sure that their voice is heard. And that's kind of like the bread and butter of management. But actually, expressing gratitude for them bringing up something is like, I think a second is like the second step to that.
Chris is furiously scribbling all this down as a team and company leader. Call on.
No, I definitely think that's really important. You gotta, because a lot of times, in I mean, this is a whole other topic, but I don't really love brainstorm meetings. I've never really liked brainstorm meetings. I never really got a lot out of brainstorming meetings, mainly because, the most extroverted person just talks the entire time, and not all great design ideas come out of just like in some 1 hour meeting, just off the cuff like that. You know, designers just all work in different ways. Some are more like they have to like sit and think about it, or sleep on it. But there's everybody has their own method, and
Mm.
so yeah, definitely one problem with meetings and being heard and stuff like that is just not even having a chance to talk, or just if your personality is more introverted, not having a voice in those sort of venues, let's say. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, totally. It's also important whenever you're as a designer, if you're dealing with people who aren't other designers, and you're all working together to make something happen, right? You're all working to make this boss fight happen, or you're working to make this new zone or this new story play out the way that everyone wants it to. And it's easy for some people to feel like they've just been pigeonholed into their one role. For example, oh, I'm just the VFX artist. What say do I have in how difficult this encounter is, right?
Mm.
And so, but that's not a first of all, you're robbing the team of your experience if you're not giving your perspective on like how difficult the encounter is or what the flow of the encounter should be. And two, like it's easy to all because they don't feel like they're involved in the design of the game. It's easy to make for people to feel like they aren't involved in the development of the game. And so just positively
Mhm.
reinforcing when somebody says like, "Hey, I appreciate your perspective." Because you do. I feel like even if we don't agree with someone, we always appreciate the perspective. At least we should appreciate the perspective. Um, and acknowledging that everybody here is the game developer. You are, as the VFX artist, you're the look, the feel, the soul, the the intensity of this encounter. Some of that comes from you as well, and understanding that, you know, everybody has something to bring, and just acknowledging what they do bring is so important to the collaborative process.
Hmm. I think that even if you don't, I don't want to say don't appreciate their input, but like don't know that you will use it in a certain way, it's important to let the person know that it's safe to give it and make sure that they feel bought in. Like I've experienced that a handful of times at Clay in some smaller meetings you would have with planning like a DLC for Oxygen Not Included or something like that, where if I had an idea from the perspective of a player or just something gameplay related or something that would be neat to untangle or that we could stage across a bunch of pieces, like they would hear it and they might be really great at faking it, but like get excited about just anybody kind of chipping in. And I was suddenly struck like how like it was like a rush to feel like I'm allowed to talk about game design things and stuff that's not just like audio that sits downstream of what effects did, what props did, and get excited about it and like listen, feel listened to. That was a huge thing for me in that space. Like it really made me want to go back to my desk after that meeting and for the next several weeks feel like I want to build shit for and with these people because they clearly like want me, a more whole version of me around. And it really did a lot for me. Yeah, I didn't get as much of that. I think it's tougher to get that in like more highly segmented companies because people want you to kind of stay in your lane. Blizzard is pretty regimented, but I still felt really kind of listened to there. If I had an idea for like when I did my little showcase and I talked about that kind of persistent radio and the sort of futzed out Diablo songs and stuff, like little things you want to push. I did feel like my boss was open to hearing about stuff like that. And like little things like that would just make me so intensely loyal to the project where if you feel like no one cares about that, you're just never going to do your best work, But Chris,
Yeah,
do you have
I
any,
keep
like,
thinking
oh,
about. Well, I just keep thinking about Oprah is like one of the best, I think, interviewers and one of the highest like EQ people in the world, probably. And
mhm,
one quote that she said that kind of stuck with me is just that out of all of her interviews, the one thing that's most common with all of them is basically just that people ultimately just want to be heard.
yeah,
And after every interview, no matter if it's like Beyonce or Barack Obama or whatever it is, they usually ask like, was that good? Did that make sense? Did I say anything that mattered, basically, right? And so essentially, just everybody just wants to be heard, and so I think that's like the one way you can pass on gratitude to somebody is just hear them out, and don't discount what they're trying to say. And that's like one really big thing about a designer, I feel like, is as you grow, it's when people come and give you feedback on things or talk about the game design, it's very easy to just clam up and just be like, oh, he just doesn't get what I was trying to do. And let me just tell them how the design was supposed to be or whatever. You just have to kind of interpret what everybody's experience is valid, right? And so you have to kind of interpret what they're trying to do, what they're trying to experience in the game, and then kind of think about your design and see what went wrong, Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the important distinction there is like you can make somebody feel there's like a difference between hearing and listening in a way where I can hear the words that you're saying and then maybe forget them 5 minutes later. But if I'm truly listening and I'm making you feel listened to, then I I'm actually like listening with my heart, listening with my ears, and I could paraphrase what you just said back to me, right? Because I'm not just nodding my head saying, "Yep, yep, I hear you, I hear you." You're actually saying, "I hear you. Are you trying to tell me blah 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 blah?" And that's like a really good way to let someone feel like they're being heard by you is parrot it back to them. And then sometimes you're that's not what they were trying to say. And so it's really important to figure out what exactly they are trying to tell you. And so if you're going into the conversation, if you're going into the exchange with that kind of curiosity, with the openness that you could have interpreted it incorrectly, I think that's whenever people really feel heard.
Fuck, that just happened to me a day or two ago when I had some opinions for like our team lead, and he paraphrased what I was trying to say, and he was wrong. And I corrected him on it, and he was like, "Oh, I see." And then I got to like actually clarify. And after doing that, I felt like, wow, I've really fucking connected with this guy now, and I'm so glad that he took the time to give back to me what he thought I was saying, so that I could actually open the conversation up. This whole conversation just makes me want to go and take some fucking courses on becoming a better listener, which I think about all the time, honestly, because of doing this podcast too. Like it's really a skill that you have to work to cultivate, right? Have you ever done anything like that, Candace? Like any kind of active training on?
Yes, I read a lot of books. I can't remember which book. I'd have to open my Audible because I think it was called Thank You for Listening. Maybe it wasn't the Thank You for Listening book. But what I learned about myself is that often when someone is speaking to me, I will be formulating my response in their head while they're speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just my brain, and often a human's brain is not that advanced to both take in and output at the same time. And so just by clearing my mind and actually listening and not feeling like I have to go on the defensive to answer a question, like taking the time to pause after they're done speaking, see if they're actually done speaking, if they're done emptying their jar, which is really hard, obviously, with Discord and with online because you can't read someone's body language as much. But yeah, stop formulating your response until they're completely done speaking. And what I learned is that's really hard because you have to listen and remember everything that they're saying. Because sometimes when someone's speaking for a long time, like I've been speaking for a long time now, the question that you wanted to ask them will be answered if you just listen for long enough, or the context you need to fully grasp something. So when you have those questions, you kind of have to keep that. I keep one key word in my head, like, should I ask about threat, or should I ask about colors, or should I ask about whatever? And I'll keep that one word in my head, but then I'll just keep processing. I'll just keep listening. And I've actually found that most of the time, my answer or my question has been answered by the time they're done speaking.
That's a great tip.
Yeah, I also posted this TED Talk that I really like by Celeste Headley, 10 Ways to Have Better Conversation. It's a really good one.
Cool.
Definitely recommend it.
Cool. I'll have to check that out. It's like always something I could be improving at. And I feel like really, like you were saying, it becomes tougher in the digital age and you don't have all the nice body cues that help us out. And I just feel like existence online and the media we engage with is generally like pushing me away from being a quiet, patient, open-minded listener all the time. And like the pressure somehow is on to like snap back as fast as possible, like be the first one to the response, have the cleverest response, have the sort of most inciting response, you know?
I agree.
Maybe that, yeah.
But I
So
definitely
what
do what Candace does, where I'm just like, I'm like 3 steps ahead in the conversation and trying to answer the question that they haven't even asked yet. You know, it's like, I don't know. Maybe it's an IFJ kind of thing. INTP kind of thing.
It's
we
an
did get to the
INFJ bullshit
Myers-Briggs
right
type.
there. We did it.
Yeah,
We got there.
Yeah, that was enormously difficult because you have to remember everything you want to ask if you don't just interrupt someone. You're like, what is this thing? And you have to be actually like fully present in the conversation.
I'm
A
impressed,
good tip.
Chris. Go ahead,
A
sorry.
good tip is, and I'm terrible at this. I'm also learning this. I learned this actually in therapy just 2 weeks ago with my therapist. If someone, and I'm still practicing this, by the way. If you're afraid of speaking out of turn, count 2 or 3 seconds after someone finishes speaking and then try to speak.
Okay, 3.
Yeah,
We got it.
exactly. Sometimes it takes someone a second to segue into their next thought. And so if you're not giving them that full 2 to 3 seconds, then you're not going to finish. And then you're going to interrupt them, and then they're not going to feel very heard by you because they just got cut off.
So I was talking to somebody who isn't American, and they're basically saying that it's an American thing, basically, to just interrupt while people are talking. Like, it's like a British thing, also, to just kind of wait until they have like 3 seconds, like you're saying, like a pause. But if you try to do that in America, you're just never going to say anything because people basically interject before anyone finishes. It's just like how we work, you know. So. I definitely think conversation would be way better if people just kind of let people finish their thoughts.
Yeah, I'm practicing that myself right now, and at all times, giving people time to finish, letting air out of their lungs. There's 2 things that you can do. First of all, you can try to eliminate ums, because ums are a thing that you do to cover the space so that someone doesn't interrupt you.
Oh God, yeah.
And then that makes you a better speaker in general because you're not saying all the time. I say all the time. I'm only recently learning this. I'm trying to reduce my ums. And so to reduce my ums, I had to figure out where it's coming from and why I do it to change the behavior. The other thing that's interesting is that you can't wait too long. So if you wait more than 2 or 3 seconds, some people are going to feel like they have to fill the space or they have to repeat what they said. So there's kind of a cadence that you have to learn with everybody, especially if you're a manager with your direct reports, where they feel heard, they feel like they have time to finish their statement, but they also don't feel like it's awkward or that you didn't understand, It's really strange.
I was just thinking the other day, there was a streamer I watch who made a comment about how he was trying to remove all these ums and pauses and stuff from his vocabulary. This guy is constantly in his own head about trying to improve in these little bits. And it struck me that this entire generation of content creators is like getting to give themselves so many useful and free lessons in presentation skills and like extemporaneous speaking by virtue of just having to put stuff out all the time and appear like they're on some kind of script, right? Like they're not wasting a bunch of time.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Ums. Yeah, I mean,
it's ums or
like
or I say a lot, which I hate, but it's basically kind of a way, like Candace is saying, is just it's to fill the dead space so that someone doesn't interrupt you. It's like interrupt armor,
yeah. It's like pre-staking your claim on the next segment of conversation. I do it all the time. I'll go on a giant fucking rant and then end with and that is just meant to be like, don't come in too quick. Like I might start talking again. You don't know that I'm done yet, right?
Yeah.
I hate hearing it.
It's very
the torture of editing
behavior.
A podcast. It is. But like, let's not get into my therapy here. I think we should probably keep moving it along since it's 7:02. I don't know if we want to open the floor to some folks, given their gratitude stories up here. Sorry to interrupt you, Candace. Just, trying to moderate. As you do.
Yeah, I think, if anyone, I opened it like a couple minutes ago. If anybody
of course you did.
wants to add something, feel free. But otherwise, so who's cooking for Thanksgiving, or what are you guys doing?
I'm driving down to Seattle tomorrow. It won't be
you
cooking.
are? I didn't know you were coming to
Yeah,
States?
I am. I'm going home. I have to get a COVID test in the morning, and then I will drive straight after that. They're changing the rule, but as soon as you get a COVID test, you basically have a negative one. You have like 72 hours in which it's good, and you can recross back to Canada. So I will get it, go across the border, and then be back Saturday night, min-maxing that window as best I can, right?
So what is the drive? How many hours is that?
It's like 2.5, 3 hours.
Oh, that's
But it's Thanksgiving and it's across the border, but it's COVID time. So like, I don't really know. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But anyways, looking forward to eating a ton of grub on the other side. I'm really excited to see a bunch of people and erase the memory of my last kind of traumatic stuck in Bellingham trip across the border. So make some fresh associations with all this. But what about you two? Any cooking? I know you love to cook, Chris.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to cook anything. I don't mind cooking. I just don't want to shop. And I was thinking, I don't have any ingredients to cook anything tomorrow. And I'm like, well, do I want to go to the grocery store tonight? I don't know. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I chose not to cook anything this year because we're stepping on a plane on Sunday to go to England to visit my partner's family. There's a death in the family. And so I know that after Thanksgiving, there are a lot of leftovers, and I know that those leftovers would go bad if I were to cook them. So I instead am mooching off of one of my best friend's parents. We're all going to do a Thanksgiving Friendsgiving together. It's going to be nice.
That's fun. Yep.
That's great. Are you bringing anything? You picking up one of those like Safeway apple pies or something on the way?
Yeah.
I like to bring good wine. I was going to bring some homemade cranberries, but we're at 7:04 p.m. and honestly, don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah. Probably not. All right.
But there's always plenty of food. Oh, and can I bring this around to the meta of being thankful?
Of course.
Yes. It's a capper. That'd be nice.
I'm thankful for all the listeners that we have, the mighty few that show up every week and make me feel like I have something important to say. So thank you for both being here, listening, engaging, and asking your questions.
Seconding that, all of our listeners are dope. Those of you hanging out with us live right now and those that circle around to YouTube whenever you get to this video, it's super appreciated. It's been really fun to do this year and looking forward to, I don't know, sharing many more stories and getting many more people up here. Games aren't going anywhere. I mean, we know that much. So
I'll echo that as well. And I'm also thankful of you two, Luca and Candace, for joining me every week-ish to do this. It's been a lot of fun. And I feel like it's like kind of my therapy to come here and talk to you guys about game dev and just kind of see what you guys are doing each week. It's an excuse to get you to talk to me every week. So,
thanks, buddy.
It's really helped. Yeah. It's really made me feel happy this year to do this podcast with you guys. So
it has been good. I'm gonna have to let you know when I am thinking about that January-ish OC trip. I think we should make it real.
We should do it.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
It'll be fun. We can drive around in Chris's soon-to-be limited edition gas-powered Charger and have a great time. Okay.
All right.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you not next week. Candace won't be around, but I would guess early December. Hang tight till then, Chris.
All right. Later, gamers.